Amara Wells settled into first class, seat 3A, on Apex Air's Chicago to Miami flight. Her billion-dollar deal done. Champagne flutes clinked. Leather seats sighed softly. She scrolled emails, calm, unaware of eyes narrowing. Colin Hargrove, a wiry flight attendant, whispered to a colleague, his gaze sharp. Suddenly, he stormed over, barking, "You're in the wrong seat." Faces turned, judging her skin, not her ticket. This wasn't a mistake. It sparked a war costing Apex Air $550 million. What drove Colin's rage? Before we dive in, tell us where you're watching from. If you stand for justice, hit like, subscribe, and join the fight for truth. Amara Wells sat rigid in seat 3A, her fingers still hovering over her phone. The emails she'd been scrolling now a blur. The first-class cabin of Apex Air Flight 721, bound for Miami, had gone quiet, every eye locked on her, after Colin Hargrove's barked accusation. His words, "You're in the wrong seat," hung heavy, slicing through the soft clink of champagne glasses and the low hum of the aircraft. Amara's pulse quickened, but her face stayed calm. A mask of control honed over years of navigating rooms where she was the only one who looked like her. She met Colin's stare, his pale blue eyes sharp with something she recognized instantly. Not confusion, not error, but intent. Colin stood over her, his wiry frame taut, arms crossed like a bouncer guarding a velvet rope. His badge gleamed. Under the cabin lights, a tiny shield of authority he wielded like a club. "Boarding pass," he snapped, extending a hand, his voice loud enough to carry to row 10. Amara reached into her blazer pocket, her movements deliberate, refusing to let his urgency rattle her. She handed over the pass, a crisp printout she'd triple-checked at O'Hare's gate. "It's 3A, first class," she said, her tone, even, almost gentle, as if explaining to a child. Colin snatched it, his lips curling into a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. He barely glanced at the paper before tossing it back onto her lap, letting it flutter against her cream silk blouse. "Economy's that way, miss," he said, pointing down the aisle with a flick of his wrist, like he was shooing a stray dog. The cabin stirred. A white businessman in row 2, his tie loosened, leaned back, smirking. "Some people push their luck," he muttered to the woman beside him, who nodded without looking up from her tablet. Amara heard it, felt the words land like a jab, but she kept her eyes on Colin. Her boarding pass lay untouched where it fell, a small defiance. "My seat is correct," she said, louder now, each syllable crisp. "I paid for 3A. Check the manifest if you're unsure." Her voice carried the weight of someone who'd closed billion-dollar deals, who'd stared down skeptical investors and walked away with their trust. But Colin wasn't listening for truth. He tilted his head, his smirk tightening into something harder. "I don't need to check anything," he said. "You're causing a delay. Move or I'll get security." Amara's chest tightened, not from fear, but from the familiarity of it all. The way power could twist a simple truth into a threat. She'd been here before, not on a plane, but in boardrooms, at galas, where her presence was questioned not for what she'd done, but for who she was. She leaned forward slightly, her dark eyes locking onto Colin's. "There's no delay," she said. "I'm seated. I've shown my pass. If there's an issue, let's resolve it properly." Her calmness was a weapon, one she'd sharpened over decades, but it only seemed to stoke Colin's fire. His jaw clenched, a faint flush creeping up his neck. He stepped closer, looming over her seat, his voice dropping to a hiss. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." The businessman chuckled again, louder this time, and Amara caught a glimpse of other passengers shifting, some craning their necks, others pretending to study their in-flight magazines. Nobody spoke up. Nobody asked why a woman with a valid ticket was being treated like a gatecrasher. The silence was its own verdict, heavy and complicit. Amara's fingers curled around her armrest, not in surrender, but in resolve. She pulled out her ID, a sleek leather wallet embossed with her initials, and held it out. "Amara Wells," she said, her voice steady. "Check the manifest. You'll see I'm listed for 3A. Colin didn't take the ID. He glanced at it, then away, like it was irrelevant. his gaze flicking to the front of the cabin where another attendant, a younger woman with a tight ponytail, watched nervously. "I've seen enough," he said, louder now, performative. "You're disrupting the flight. Last chance to move willingly." Amara didn't budge. She folded her ID back into her wallet, her movements slow, deliberate, forcing him to wait. "I'm not disrupting anything," she said. "You're choosing to make this a problem. Why?" The question hung there, sharp and unanswered. Colin's flush deepened, his lips parting as if to snap back. But he caught himself. Instead, he turned abruptly, grabbing the radio clipped to his belt. "Gate security. This is Hargrove. First class, we've got a non-compliant passenger. Need assistance now." His voice crackled through the cabin, each word a deliberate escalation, painting Amara as a threat. The younger attendant flinched, her eyes darting to Amara, then away. Passengers murmured, a low buzz of curiosity and judgment. The businessman leaned forward, whispering something to his seatmate who stifled a laugh. Amara's heart pounded, but she kept her face neutral, her breathing slow. She knew how this looked. A black woman standing her ground. Every second she refused to bend, making her seem more difficult, more out of place. She'd studied the playbook, seen it play out in headlines. In quiet moments nobody filmed. But she wasn't here to lose. She reached for her phone, thinking to record, to document. But before she could unlock it, heavy footsteps thudded down the aisle. A gate agent, a stocky man in a Navy Apex Air vest, appeared, his face already set in a scowl. "What's the issue here?" he asked, not looking at Amara, only at Colin. "She's in a seat that's not hers," Colin said, gesturing at Amara like she was an object, not a person. "Refusing to move, holding up boarding." The agent nodded, barely glancing at Amara's boarding pass, still lying on her lap. "Ma'am, you need to follow instructions," he said, his tone clipped, final. "We've got a full flight, and you're causing trouble." Amara's jaw tightened, but she kept her voice level. "I'm not causing trouble. My ticket says 3A. Nobody's checked the manifest. Why not?" The agent sighed, a long, exaggerated breath, like she was testing his patience. "Look, I don't have time for this. Move to the back, or you're off the flight." The threat landed hard, a punch she felt in her gut. Passengers were openly staring now, some with pity, others with annoyance, as if she were the one delaying their cocktails and warm towels. The businessman muttered, "Just go already." Loud, enough for her to hear. Amara's fingers dug into her armrest, her mind racing. She could fight harder, demand they check. But the agent's hand was already on his radio, mirroring Colin's earlier move. The power wasn't in her ticket, her money, her truth. It was in their willingness to listen. And that was gone. She stood slowly, smoothing her blazer, her posture unbroken despite the weight of every stare. "I'll move," she said, her voice low but clear. "But this isn't over." She gathered her carry-on, a sleek black bag that matched her heels, and started down the aisle, Colin leading the way like a jailer. The cabin watched, a mix of relief and curiosity, as she passed row after row, the luxury of first class fading, into the tighter, louder world of economy. The agent followed, ensuring she didn't turn back. Whispers trailed her. Thought she could sneak up there. And always someone stirring things up. Colin stopped at row 38, a cramped corner by the lavatory, the seat's cushion sagging, its tray table stuck at an angle. "Here," he said, not meeting her eyes, his smirk back in place. Amara looked at the seat, then at him, her expression unreadable. She didn't argue, didn't plead. She slid her bag under the seat and sat, her back straight, her hands folded, in her lap. The lavatory door hissed open behind her, the chemical tang sharp in the air. The agent nodded at Colin, then left, his job done. Colin lingered a moment, his gaze flicking over her, as if waiting for a crack in her composure. She gave him none. As he walked away, the cabin settled, the pre-flight bustle resuming, passengers buckling in, attendants rolling carts. Amara stared ahead, her mind already turning, mapping the fight to come. She'd been pushed out, humiliated, her rightful place stolen, but she wasn't defeated. Colin thought he'd won, thought his badge and his bias were enough to erase her. He didn't know who she was, didn't know the fire he'd lit. This seat, this moment, wasn't the end. It was the start of something bigger, something that would shake Apex Air to its core. Amara Wells sat in row 38, her back pressed against the sagging seat, the faint chemical whiff from the lavatory behind her, curling into the stale air of Apex Air Flight 721. The cabin buzzed with pre-takeoff chatter, passengers, in economy, rustling bags, snapping tray tables, while first class far ahead basked in a cocoon of clinking glasses and murmured privilege. Amara's hands rested in her lap, fingers still, but her mind churned, replaying Colin Hargrove's smirk, the gate agent's dismissal, the businessman's jab about pushing her luck. Her pulse hadn't settled since she'd been marched to this corner, every stare in the aisle branding her as out of place, a black woman who dared to claim what wasn't hers. She wasn't broken, though, not even close. She was calculating, her eyes fixed on the frayed seat back in front of her, already planning her next move. The plane jolted slightly, taxiing toward the runway, and Amara shifted, her cream silk blouse catching faintly on the seat's worn stitching. Her carry-on sat tucked beneath her feet, but her laptop, a slim silver machine that held her life's work, was in her lap. She opened it, the screen's glow a small rebellion against the dimness of row 38. She wasn't here to sulk, she was here to fight. Her fingers moved swiftly, pulling up Apex Air's customer service portal. She began typing a complaint, each word precise, cutting, detailing Colin's accusation, the unchecked boarding pass, the agent's blind loyalty. At 10:42 a.m. I, Amara Wells, was forcibly removed from my paid first-class seat. 3A without verification, she wrote, her tone calm but unyielding, like a lawyer laying out an indictment. She attached a scan of her ticket, her ID, every shred of proof she'd held out to Colin, proof he'd ignored. This wasn't just a grievance, it was a gauntlet, one she'd throw at Apex Air's feet when they landed in Miami. Around her, economy passengers settled in, oblivious or uncaring. A teenage boy 2 rows up scrolled his phone, earbuds blasting. An older woman across the aisle fussed with a knitting bag, her needles clicking softly. But not everyone was blind. Amara caught whispers, sharp and pointed, from a couple in row 36. She probably thought she could scam her way into first class, the man said, his voice low but deliberate, meant to carry. His wife nodded, her lips pursed. They always try something, she added, glancing back at Amara, then away, as if eye contact might commit her to more. Amara's jaw tightened, but she kept typing, her focus a shield. She'd heard worse, felt worse, in rooms where power wore sharper masks. This wasn't new, it was just louder, uglier, because Colin had made it a spectacle. The plane's engines roared, lifting off, and the cabin tilted, pressing Amara deeper into her seat. Her screen flickered slightly, but she didn't stop, her fingers flying, outlining the businessman's smirk, the agent's threat to boot her off the flight. She was halfway through describing the walk to row 38, the weight of every passenger's stare, when a shadow fell over her. She looked up, expecting Colin, his smirk ready to twist the knife. Instead, it was a younger flight attendant, her ponytail tight, her name tag reading Lila. She was maybe 25, her brown eyes nervous but kind, clutching a water bottle like it was contraband. She glanced over her shoulder, then leaned in, her voice barely above a whisper. "I saw your name on the manifest," Lila said, her words rushed. "You're right. You're listed for 3A. This is wrong." Amara's breath caught, a spark of hope igniting in her chest. Lila's face was open, unguarded, a crack in the wall Colin had built. "Thank you," Amara said softly, her voice steady despite the warmth spreading through her. She took the water bottle, its plastic cool against her palm, a small gesture that felt like an anchor. Lila nodded, her lips twitching into a hesitant smile. "I'll tell the lead supervisor when we land," she added, quieter now, her eyes darting toward the galley curtain. "They'll fix this, I promise." Amara nodded back, her guard still up but softening. Lila wasn't just offering water. She was offering truth, a lifeline Amara hadn't expected in this cramped, hostile corner of the plane. Lila straightened, slipping back toward the aisle, but not before Amara caught the flicker of fear in her eyes, like she'd just crossed a line she couldn't uncross. Amara tucked the water bottle into her bag, her mind racing. Lila's words were a weapon, proof someone inside Apex Air saw the lie for what it was. She turned back to her laptop, adding a new paragraph to her complaint, noting Lila's confirmation, her promise to escalate. The plane leveled off, cruising now, the seatbelt sign blinking off with a soft chime. Amara's hope grew, not naive but strategic. If Lila followed through, if the supervisor listened, Colin's stunt would unravel before the wheels touched Miami's tarmac. She was typing the final line. "I expect a full investigation," when a new shadow loomed. This time, it was Colin, his wiry frame tense, his eyes narrowed to slits. He stood at the edge of her row, a coffee pot in one hand, his knuckles white around the handle. "Everything okay back here?" he asked, his voice dripping with false cheer, loud enough to draw glances from nearby seats. Amara didn't look up, her fingers pausing over the keys. "Fine," she said, clipped, her focus locked on the screen. Colin lingered, his gaze heavy, like he was searching for a crack to exploit. Then, with a sudden jerk, he tripped, the coffee pot tilting, a stream of scalding liquid splashing across Amara's laptop. She yanked the device back, but it was too late. The screen flickered, sparked, then went black, coffee pooling in the keyboard, dripping onto her slacks. A gasp rippled through the cabin, the teenage boy twisting to stare, the knitting woman freezing mid-stitch. Colin stepped back, his hands raised in mock surprise. "Oh, my mistake," he said, his smirk barely hidden. "These aisles are so tight." Amara's heart pounded, rage flaring in her chest, but she clamped it down, her face a mask of steel. She set the ruined laptop on her lap, her hands steady despite the tremor of fury beneath them. "You did that on purpose," she said, her voice low, cutting through the cabin's hush. Colin's smirk faltered just for a second, before he doubled down. "Accidents happen," he said, shrugging, his tone daring her to push back. He turned, but not before Amara caught him glancing at Lila, who'd appeared at the galley curtain, her face pale, her hands twisting together. Colin's eyes locked on her, a silent warning, and Lila flinched, stepping back into the shadows. Amara's stomach twisted, the spark of hope dimming. Lila had seen, maybe even heard, but Colin's presence was a leash, tightening around her. Courage. The cabin fell silent again, passengers returning to their distractions, the boy to his phone, the woman to her needles. Nobody spoke up, nobody challenged Colin's accident. The businessman from row 2 wasn't here to smirk, but Amara felt his echo in the averted eyes, the quiet acceptance that let Colin walk away unscathed. She looked down at her laptop, its screen dead, her complaint unsaved, her proof locked in a machine that wouldn't boot. Coffee stained her slacks, a dark smear against the navy fabric, a mark of Colin's cruelty. She wiped her hands on a napkin, her movements slow, deliberate, refusing to let him see her break. But inside, she burned. This wasn't just a laptop, it was her voice, her fight, doused in coffee and spite. Lila's promise still hung in the air, fragile but real, and Amara clung to it, even as Colin's shadow lingered. He'd struck harder this time, not with words, but with sabotage, a calculated move to silence her. She glanced at the galley, where Lila had vanished, and wondered if her ally would hold. The plane droned on, slicing through clouds, carrying Amara toward a battle she hadn't chosen but wouldn't lose. Colin thought he'd clipped her wings, but he'd only sharpened her claws. Amara Wells sat in row 38, the broken seat creaking under her, the faint hum of Apex Air Flight 721's engines a dull roar in her ears. Her coffee-soaked laptop lay dead in her lap, its blackened screen a tomb for her. Unsent complaint, a casualty of Colin Hargrove's calculated accident. The lavatory's chemical tang stung her nose, mixing with the bitter scent of coffee staining her navy slacks. Around her, economy passengers fiddled with earbuds or dozed, Their earlier whispers about her scamming first class now faded into the cabin's restless buzz. Amara's hands were steady, but her chest burned, not with defeat, but with a fire Colin couldn't douse. He thought he'd silenced her, thought a spilled pot could erase her fight. He was wrong. She slipped her ruined laptop into her carry-on, her movements slow, deliberate, like a boxer sizing up the ring. Her phone, tucked in her blazer pocket, was still alive, its battery at 80%, a lifeline he hadn't touched. She pulled it out. The screen's glow sharp against the dim cabin lights. The plane was cruising at 35,000 feet, but Amara wasn't grounded. She opened her camera app, her thumb hovering over the record button. Colin's sabotage had cost her a weapon, but she wasn't out of ammunition. She leaned forward, glancing down the aisle. He was there near the galley curtain, chatting with another attendant, his wiry frame relaxed, his smirk back in place like he'd already won. Amara's jaw tightened. She hit record, angling the phone to catch Colin as he strutted past row 35, his voice carrying just enough for her mic to snag it. "People like her don't belong here," he muttered, not to anyone specific, but loud enough for the knitting woman across Amara's aisle to glance up, then away. Amara's heart pounded, not with fear, but with clarity. Those words, raw and unfiltered, were gold, proof of the bias that had stripped her from seat 3A. She stopped recording, her fingers trembling slightly, not from nerves, but from the weight of what she held. This wasn't just a clip, it was a grenade, and she was ready to pull the pin. She opened her social media app, her 7,000 followers, a mix of tech insiders, colleagues, and friends who'd cheered her cybersecurity empire's rise. She uploaded the video, tagging Apex Air's official account, her caption short but sharp. "Removed from my paid first-class seat for no reason. This is what I got instead. Apex Air Tracker Justice." Her thumb hovered over post, her mind racing. Once this went live, there'd be no going back. Colin's words would echo beyond this plane, beyond his badge. She hit send, the upload bar creeping as the plane's Wi-Fi flickered. Seconds later, it was done. Her truth loose in the world. The cabin stayed oblivious, passengers sipping flat soda or flipping through dog-eared magazines, but Amara's phone buzzed almost instantly. A like, then another, then 10. Notifications piling up like sparks catching dry grass. She refreshed the app, her breath catching as the view count ticked past 503 minutes, then 1,010. Comments flooded in. "This is disgusting. And Apex Air, explain yourself." Her followers shared it, their outrage spreading. A tech reporter she knew retweeting it to 20,000 more. By the time the plane hit its cruising midpoint, the clip had 10,000 views, a wildfire she'd lit from a broken seat by the lavatory. Amara leaned back, her pulse steadying, a flicker of triumph warming her chest. She wasn't just fighting Colin now, she was fighting the system that let him thrive, and the world was watching. Across the aisle, the teenage boy from earlier pulled out his phone, his eyes widening as he scrolled. "Yo, this is you," he whispered, glancing at Amara, his earbuds dangling. She nodded, just once, her expression unreadable but firm. The boy's fingers flew, sharing her post, his face a mix of awe and disbelief. Others noticed, heads turning, whispers rippling through economy like a tide. "Is that her?" a woman in row 37 murmured, squinting at her screen. "Wait, isn't she that tech CEO?" The shift wasn't just in economy. Up in first class, beyond the curtain Amara couldn't see, a woman in a tailored blazer checked her phone, her champagne flute forgotten. "Amara Wells," she muttered to her seatmate, a balding man in a golf polo. "Says here she's the one who locked down that billion-dollar merger last week." The man frowned, pulling out his own phone, the video's grainy audio playing through his earbuds. "If that's her, why's she back there?" he asked, his voice low but uneasy. The woman didn't answer, her lips pursed, the cabin's luxury suddenly less comfortable. Amara's phone buzzed again, now at 15,000 views, her notifications a blur of support and fury. She allowed herself a small exhale, not victory but progress. Colin had pushed her down, but she'd pushed back, and the world was listening. Did you catch that moment when the truth started to crack through? Comment number 1 if you've ever seen someone judge before they could speak, and let's keep this fire burning. Hit like, subscribe for more stories that demand justice. But Colin wasn't done. He emerged from the galley, his smirk gone, replaced by a tight-lipped scowl. He'd seen the buzz, maybe caught a passenger's screen flashing his own face. His eyes scanned the cabin, landing on Amara, and for a moment, she thought he'd storm over, demand her phone, escalate again. Instead, he pivoted, his movements jerky, and approached her row with a tray in hand, a first-class meal plated with grilled salmon and a linen napkin, a peace offering that reeked of panic. "For you," he said, his voice flat, avoiding her gaze. "No charge. Let's move past this." Amara looked at the tray, then at him, her eyes sharp, dissecting his sudden humility. It wasn't remorse, it was damage control, a cheap bid to douse the flames she'd sparked. She took the tray, setting it on her tray table, her fingers brushing the napkin with deliberate calm. "Thank you," she said, her tone neutral, giving him nothing to grip onto. Colin nodded stiffly, retreating to the galley, but not before. She caught the flicker of rage in his eyes, a man cornered but not cowed. She didn't touch the food, her instincts screaming trap. The cabin watched, the boy nodding like she'd won a round, the knitting woman's needles pausing, her judgment softened by curiosity. Amara's phone hit 20,000 views, the comments now a roar. "Fire that guy," and "Apex Air's done for." She felt the tide turning, her truth louder than Colin's badge, her fight bigger than row 38. Could she finally be breaking through their wall of lies? Comment number 1. If you think Amara's courage deserves a spotlight, smash that like and subscribe to see justice unfold. But then, a chill crept in. A passenger in row 39, a wiry man with a buzz cut who'd been silent all flight, leaned over, his voice low, urgent. "Check your bag," he whispered, nodding at her carry-on. Amara frowned, her hand moving to the bag under her seat. She unzipped it, her fingers brushing past her dead laptop, her water bottle, until she reached her wallet's usual pocket. Empty. Her heart sank, a cold weight settling in her gut. She rifled deeper, hoping it had slipped, but nothing. No leather, no cards, no ID. She glanced up, catching the man's sympathetic nod before he looked away, like he'd done all he could. Amara's breath hitched, her mind racing. She'd had it in first class, had shown it to Colin before he'd tossed her pass back. Somewhere between seat 3A and this cramped corner, someone had taken it. And Colin's meal tray, his sudden kindness, flashed in her mind like a warning. She looked toward the galley where he stood, his back to her, but his posture was different now, looser, like a predator who'd already struck. Their eyes met through the crowd, and he smirked, just for a second, a glint of triumph that said, he wasn't running, he was reloading. Her wallet, her identity, her leverage, gone, stolen in a cabin full of witnesses who'd seen nothing, or chosen not to. Amara's fingers curled into fists, her nails biting her palms, but she didn't flinch. Colin thought he'd buried her, thought a theft could snuff out her fire. He didn't know she'd built an empire from ashes before. What would you do if someone tried to erase your truth? Drop a comment with number 1 if you're rooting for Amara to strike back. Hit like and subscribe to see how deep this fight goes. The plane droned on, Miami closer with every second. But Amara's fight was just beginning. Her video was viral. Her name was spreading, but without her wallet she was stranded, vulnerable in ways Colin couldn't imagine. Or could he? What had he planned next to keep her down? Amara Wells gripped her carry-on as Apex Air Flight 721 taxied to the gate at Miami International Airport, the cabin's hum drowned by her racing thoughts. Row 38's broken seat had left her back stiff, the lavatories, chemical stink clinging to her blazer, but it was the empty pocket where her wallet should have been that weighed heaviest. Colin Hargrove's smirk from the galley, that fleeting glint of triumph, burned in her mind. Her viral video, now at 20,000 views, had shaken him, forced his fake meal tray apology. But the theft of her ID, her cards, her leverage, was no accident. It was a move in a game she hadn't fully mapped, one where Colin held more pieces than she'd guessed. The plane lurched to a stop, and Amara stood, her posture unbroken, her dark eyes scanning the aisle. She wasn't beaten, not yet, but she was cornered, and she knew it. Passengers shuffled toward the exit, their chatter a mix of vacation plans and complaints about legroom. Amara moved with them, her heels clicking on the jetway, each step measured, her carry-on slung over her shoulder. Her phone buzzed relentlessly, notifications piling up, her video's view count climbing past 25,000 now, comments raging against Apex Air's bias. "Keep fighting," one read, another. "This is why I never fly them." It fueled her, but without her wallet, she was stranded. No way to rent a car, book a hotel, or even prove who she was. She needed allies, fast, and answers about how Colin had pulled this off under a cabin's nose. At the gate, the terminal buzzed, with travelers, roller bags clattering, departure boards flashing. Amara spotted a cluster of airport police near a coffee kiosk, their navy uniforms crisp, radios crackling. She approached, her resolve hardening. Colin's theft had upped the stakes, but she wasn't here to cower. "Excuse me," she said, her voice clear, steady, catching the eye of a stocky officer with a buzz cut. "I need to report a theft from my flight." She laid it out, calm but firm, detailing her relocation from first class, the viral clip, and the missing wallet, last seen when she'd shown her ID to Colin. "It happened between seat 3A and row 38, she said, handing over, her phone the video queued up. "This is the attendant who targeted me." The officer, his badge reading Martinez, watched the clip, his brow furrowing as Collins muttered, "People like her," echoed through the phone's speaker. His partner, a younger woman with a tight ponytail, leaned in, her eyes narrowing. "That's bold," Martinez said, glancing at Amara. "You're saying he stole it during the flight?" Amara nodded, her hands clasped to keep them still. "I had it in first class. By the time I reached the back, it was gone. He was the only one close enough, and he'd already singled me out." Martinez scribbled in a notepad, his face unreadable but attentive. "We'll look into it," he said, handing back her phone. "Stay nearby. We'll need a formal statement." Amara exhaled, a flicker of relief warming her chest. The police weren't dismissing her, weren't siding with Colin's badge over her truth. She stepped back, leaning against a pillar, watching travelers stream past, their lives untouched by the fight consuming hers. Her phone buzzed again, a news alert popping up. Passengers' video sparks outrage against Apex Air. The story was spreading, her fight no longer confined to row 38. She allowed herself a moment to hope, to believe the system might bend, just this once, toward justice. Then, a new figure approached, a gate supervisor in a Navy Apex, air blazer, her name tag glinting, Sharon. She was older, her graying hair pulled back, her smile tight but practiced. "Ms. Wells?" she asked, her voice low like she didn't want to draw eyes. Amara straightened, her guard up but curious. "I saw your post," Sharon said, glancing at Amara's phone, still glowing with notifications. "What happened?" "On that flight. It's not how we operate. I'm upgrading you to our VIP lounge, no charge, while we sort this out." She handed Amara a sleek black card, the lounge's logo embossed in gold. "Rest, recharge. We'll get to the bottom of this." Amara took the card, her fingers brushing the cool plastic, her mind racing. The lounge meant Wi-Fi, a place to regroup, maybe even a way to track her stolen cards online. Sharon's apology felt rushed, corporate, but it was something, a crack in Apex Air's armor. "Thank you," Amara said, her tone neutral, not trusting the gesture fully but seizing it. Sharon nodded, already stepping away, her smile fading as she merged into the terminal's chaos. Amara glanced at the police, still conferring by the kiosk, Martinez jotting notes. Things were moving, not fast, but forward. She headed for the lounge, her heels echoing, feeling the tide shift like she'd finally landed a blow Colin couldn't dodge. The VIP lounge was a world apart, all polished wood and soft jazz, travelers sipping martinis at a marble bar. Amara settled into a leather armchair, her carry-on at her feet, and opened her phone. The video, now at 30,000 views, trending locally. She started a new email to her lawyer, outlining the theft, the police report, ready to escalate when she landed. The lounge's Wi-Fi was fast, her signal strong, and for the first time since Colin's barked accusation, she felt in control, like she was steering this fight, not just surviving it. But then, the lounge's calm shattered. Martinez and his partner pushed through the glass doors, their faces no longer sympathetic but hard, purposeful. Travelers glanced up, drinks pausing mid-sip. "Amara Wells?" Martinez called, his voice cutting through the jazz. Amara stood, her heart lurching, her carry-on clutched tight. "Yes?" she said, her voice steady despite the sudden chill in her gut. Martinez stepped closer, his hand resting on his radio. "You're coming with us," he said, his tone flat, final. "We've got a complaint against you." Amara blinked, her mind scrambling. "A complaint?" she asked, her hand still refusing to tremble. "I reported a theft you were investigating." Martinez's partner, the ponytail woman, stepped forward, her eyes avoiding Amara's. "The flight attendant, Colin Hargrove, says you stole his wallet during the flight," she said, her voice clipped. "Claims you took it to frame him after your video went up." Amara's breath caught, rage and disbelief colliding in her chest. "That's a lie," she said, her voice low, sharp. "He took mine. You saw the video. You heard him." Martinez didn't flinch. "We need to check your bag," he said, gesturing to a corner of the lounge where travelers were already staring, phones creeping out to film. Amara's pulse raced, but she nodded, handing over her carry-on, her movements calm, deliberate, knowing any resistance would twist this further. The officers dumped her bag onto a table right there in the open, her dead laptop, water bottle, and charger spilling out. No wallet, no evidence, just her life laid bare for strangers to gawk at. Martinez rifled through, finding nothing, but the damage was done. A woman at the bar whispered "thief" loud enough to carry. A man in a suit filmed, his lens steady, already uploading to who knew where. Amara stood tall, her blazer smoothed, her eyes locked on Martinez. "There's nothing," she said, her voice steady, cutting through the lounge's hush. "Because I didn't take anything." Martinez nodded, almost reluctant, zipping her bag shut. "You're free to go," he said, but his tone carried no apology, no warmth. The officers left, their boots heavy on the polished floor, leaving Amara in a sea of stares, her phone buzzing with new alerts, clips of the search already hitting the web, captioned, "First-class faker caught," and "Apex Air passenger, accused of theft." She sank back into her chair, her hands folded, her face unreadable, but inside she reeled. Colin hadn't just stolen her wallet, he'd flipped the script, turned her truth into a lie, and the system, the police, the crowd, had eaten it up. She glanced toward the terminal, where Colin stood beyond the lounge's glass, his wiry frame slouched against a pillar watching her, his smirk wider now, a predator savoring the kill. The lounge card in her pocket felt hollow, a bribe to quiet her, not fix her. Her video had struck a nerve, but Colin's counterpunch had drawn blood, painting her as the criminal, not the victim. Amara's fingers curled into her palms, her nails biting skin, but she didn't break. Colin thought he'd trapped her, thought a false claim could bury her fight. He didn't know she'd faced worse, climbed higher, built empires from less. Miami's lights glittered outside, but her war was far from over. And Colin's smirk was just fuel for the fire she'd unleash next. Amara Wells sat in the Apex Air VIP lounge at Miami International Airport, her carry-on at her feet. The marble bar's soft clink of glasses, a distant hum against the storm in her mind. The police search, Colin Hargrove's false theft accusation, and the terminal's gawking crowd still burned fresh, their phone cameras branding her a criminal across the web. Her viral video, now at 30,000 views, had struck a nerve. But Colin's counterpunch, claiming she'd stolen his wallet, had twisted her truth into a lie. The lounge's leather armchair felt like a trap, its luxury a hollow gift from a supervisor who'd vanished as fast as she'd appeared. Amara's hands rested on her phone, its screen glowing with hate comments, "Liar," and "Stop playing." The victim. She was free, no charges, but the damage was done, her name smeared, her fight bloodied. Yet her eyes were sharp, her jaw set. Colin hadn't broken her, he'd just shown his hand, and she was ready to raise the stakes. The lounges. Wi-Fi was a lifeline, fast and steady. Unlike the plane's spotty signal, Amara opened her social media app, her follower count now at 10,000, swollen by the video's fire. She ignored the trolls, her focus laser tight. She wasn't here to argue with faceless keyboards. She was here to expose a system that let Colin thrive, a system that had humiliated her, stolen her wallet, and now painted her as a thief. She tapped the livestream button, her thumb steady despite the pulse hammering in her throat. This wasn't a complaint email or a clipped video. This was war, raw and unfiltered, for the world to see. She angled her phone on the lounge's table, framing her face against the bar's sleek backdrop. Her cream silk blouse still stained faintly with coffee, a badge of Colin's earlier sabotage. The stream went live, her follower count ticking up. 500 viewers in seconds, then 1,000. "I'm Amara Wells," she said, her voice low, steady, cutting through the lounge's jazz like a blade. 2 hours ago, I was removed from my paid first-class seat on Apex Air Flight 721, no reason given. My wallet was stolen. I was accused of theft by the same attendant who targeted me, Colin Hargrove. The police searched my bag, found nothing, but the videos are already online calling me a criminal. Her eyes locked on the camera, unflinching. "This isn't a mistake, it's a pattern. Apex Air didn't just let this happen, they enabled it. I'm not here to beg for my seat back. I'm here to demand accountability, for me, for anyone who's been judged before they could speak." Viewers flooded in. 2,000 now. Comments scrolling fast. "You're a queen," and "Apex Air's trash." Amara kept going, detailing Colin's muttered slur, the coffee-soaked laptop, the police's flip from allies to accusers. "They want me to stay quiet," she said, her voice rising not with anger but with fire. "They think a lounge pass or a drop charge will make me disappear. They're wrong." The count hit 5,000, then 10,000. Her words striking chords across cities, countries, lives. A notification popped up, a reporter from a national outlet, Mia Torres, DMing her, "I want your story, Amara. This could go big, no paywall, no spin. Name the time." Amara's chest warmed, not with victory but with momentum. She typed back, "Tomorrow, noon," her fingers steady, her mind racing. This was it, her fight breaking free. Colin's lies crumbling under the weight of truth. She ended the stream, the viewer count spiking to 50,000. Her phone buzzing with shares, retweets, a wildfire she'd fanned into a blaze. Travelers in the lounge glanced her way, some nodding, others whispering, "That's her, the one from the plane." Amara leaned back, her breath slowing, feeling the ground shift beneath her. She wasn't just a passenger anymore, she was a force, and Apex Air would feel it. Mia's offer was a lifeline, a chance to take this national, to make Colin's badge irrelevant against the truth she carried. She sipped a glass of water, the lounge's cool air a brief balm, and let herself believe she was finally ahead, steering this fight toward justice. But the air shifted, a chill creeping in. Her phone buzzed, not with support, but with a news alert. Apex Air releases manifest. Passenger Amara Wells booked economy, not first class. Her heart sank, her fingers scrambling to open the link. There it was, a scanned document, Apex Air's logo crisp, listing her name under seat 38C economy, no trace of 3A. The comments below were brutal. "She lied," and "fraud trying to scam Apex." Amara's breath caught, her mind reeling. She'd seen her ticket, shown it to Colin, to the gate agent. But this was a forgery, a digital knife twisted to gut her credibility. Her live stream, her truth, now looked like a desperate grab for attention, her 50,000 viewers splitting, some still cheering, others turning. Thought she was real, guess not. She refreshed the reporter's DMs, hoping Mia was still on board, but a new message waited, cold and curt. "Saw the manifest, Amara. Legal risks are too high now. I'm out. Amara's stomach twisted, the lifeline snapping. Mia's outlet, her shot at national exposure gone, spooked by a lie Apex Air had spun with chilling ease. She opened her company's stock app, her cybersecurity firm's ticker flashing red. Down 5% in an hour, investors rattled by the manifest's fallout. Trolls swarmed her mentions, fraud, CEO, and quit while you're behind, their venom a tide she couldn't stem. Her phone's battery dipped to 20%, each buzz a reminder of how fast her fight was slipping. Amara's hands trembled, just for a second, before she locked them together, her nails biting her palms. She scanned the lounge, half expecting Colin's smirk, but he was gone, back in the terminal's chaos. Then, a TV above the bar flickered, a news channel cutting to a press clip. A man in a sharp suit, Apex Air's logo pinned to his lapel, stood at a podium, his face familiar, older, wiry like Colin, but polished, powerful. The Chiron read, Elliot Hargrove, Apex Air VP, addresses passenger dispute. Amara froze, her pulse spiking. Colin's cousin, the resemblance unmistakable, his voice smooth as he spoke. We take all claims seriously, but evidence shows. Ms. Wells was assigned economy. Apex Air follows protocol, no exceptions. His lips twitched, not a smirk, but close, a signal he knew exactly what he'd done. The lounge's jazz faded, drowned by the roar in Amara's ears. Elliot's face, his calm lies confirmed what she'd feared. Colin wasn't just a rogue attendant. He was backed by family, by power, deep in Apex Air's veins. The doctored manifest wasn't a fluke. It was a play, orchestrated to bury her, before Mia's story could breathe. Her stock ticked down another point, her firm's board texting, "We need to talk," their trust fraying. Travelers whispered, pointing at the TV, then at her, their nods turning to frowns. Her live stream's fire now a liability. Amara's fingers curled into her armrest, her blazer creased but her posture unbroken. She'd gone all in, bared her, truth to millions, and they'd clapped back with a lie so slick it felt like truth. Elliot's press clip looped, his voice a taunt. No exceptions. While Colin's smirk echoed from the plane, two Hargroves tightening the noose. Her phone buzzed. A troll's DM. Give up. Nobody believes you. She didn't open it. Didn't need to. The lounge's luxury felt like a cage now, its Wi-Fi useless against a machine that rewrote her reality. But Amara didn't break. She'd built her empire from code and grit, faced rooms that doubted her before she spoke. Colin and Elliot thought they'd won, thought a forged manifest could erase her fight. They didn't know she'd cracked tougher systems, exposed deeper lies. Her battery blinked at 15%, but her fire burned brighter, fueled by their arrogance. Miami's night loomed outside, and Amara's war was far from lost. She just needed a new play, one they'd never see coming. Amara Wells stood outside the Apex Air VIP lounge at Miami International Airport, the terminal's fluorescent glare harsh against her coffee-stained blazer. Her phone, down to 12% battery, buzzed with venomous notifications, trolls, piling on after Apex Air's doctored manifest proved she'd lied about her first-class seat. The news clip of Elliot Hargrove, Colin's cousin and Apex Air's VP, looped in her mind, his polished lie, no exceptions. A blade that had gutted her live stream's momentum. 50,000 viewers had cheered her, but now half-called. Her a fraud, her cybersecurity firm's stock down 7%, her board's texts growing colder. She gripped her carry-on, its weight heavier without her wallet, stolen by Colin, a theft now twisted to paint her as the thief. Amara's pulse, hammered, but her eyes were steel, scanning the terminal's chaos for a way forward. She wasn't done. Not by a long shot, but she needed a lifeline, and she needed it now. The terminal buzzed with travelers, roller bags clattering, voices echoing off high ceilings. Amara moved toward a quieter corner, near a shuttered pretzel, stand, her heels clicking with purpose. She'd lost the reporter, lost her firm's edge, but she hadn't lost her fight. Her phone vibrated, not another troll, but a DM from an unknown handle, Marcus JD81. She hesitated, her thumb hovering, wary of traps. The message was short. Saw your video on Flight 721. I was in row 12. I'm a lawyer. Pro bono if you need me. Apex Air's lying and I can help prove it. Amara's breath caught, a spark of hope flickering in her chest. She typed back, "Meet me at the North Terminal Starbucks, 20 minutes. Her fingers steady, her instincts weighing trust against risk. She reached the coffee shop early, its warm glow a contrast to the terminal's cold sprawl. She ordered a black coffee, paying with her phone's app, one of the few things Colin's theft hadn't touched. Marcus arrived on time, a tall black man in his 40s, his gray suit sharp but rumpled, like he'd been traveling too long. His eyes, kind but guarded, met hers as he extended a hand. "Marcus Daniels," he said, his voice low, steady. "I saw everything. Colin's stunt, the gate agent, the coffee spill. You didn't deserve any of it." Amara shook his hand, her grip firm, sizing him up. "Why help me?" she asked, her tone calm but probing. Years of boardroom battles, teaching her to spot motives. Marcus slid into the seat across from her, pulling a tablet from his briefcase. "Because I've been there," he said, his eyes flicking to the terminal's crowd, then back to her. "Not on a plane, but in courtrooms, offices, where the rules bend against you for no reason but skin. Your video hit me hard, Amara. I checked the manifest before we landed. Lila, the young attendant, showed me a copy. You were listed for 3A first class, clear as day." He tapped his tablet, revealing a grainy photo, Apex Air's logo. At the top, her name beside seat 3A, not 38C. Amara's chest tightened, not with relief but with clarity. This was proof, hard and real, a weapon to shatter Elliot's lie. She leaned forward, her coffee untouched, her voice low. "They released a fake manifest, said I booked economy. It's killing my credibility, my company." Marcus nodded, his jaw tight. "That's why I'm in. We can sue Apex Air, hit them for defamation, discrimination, the works. This," he tapped the photo, "is our ace. Lila risked her job to get it. She's scared, but she's solid." Amara's mind raced, mapping the play. A lawsuit, backed by the real manifest, could force Apex Air to admit the truth, expose Colin and Elliot's game. "Let's do it," she said, her eyes locking on his. "But we move fast, before they bury this too." They spent the next hour planning, Marcus sketching a legal strategy, Amara detailing every moment, from Colin's first bark to the police search. The Starbucks crowd thinned, baristas wiping counters, but Amara felt alive, her fight reborn. Marcus was no bystander, he was a partner, his tablet a vault of hope. "We'll file tomorrow," he said, packing up. "Meet me at my hotel, the Palms, 8 a.m. sharp. We'll draft the complaint, get Lila's affidavit remotely." Amara nodded, her resolve ironclad. For the first time since seat 3A, she felt the ground steady, like she could push back and win. But the ground shifted, fast and cruel. She stepped out of Starbucks, the terminal quieter now, and her phone buzzed. Not with Marcus, but an alert from her building's security in Chicago. "Break-in at your unit. Extensive damage. Police on scene." Her heart sank, her fingers fumbling to open the app. Live footage loaded, her apartment's sleek loft trashed, furniture splintered, walls tagged with slurs too vile to read. A detective's voice crackled through. "No suspects yet, but we found a note. Back off." Amara's breath hitched, her knees buckling for a split second before she caught herself against a pillar. The note wasn't random. It was a message, tied to her video, her live stream, her fight. She called Marcus, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. "My place in Chicago, it's destroyed," she said, forwarding the footage. Marcus cursed softly, his tone grim. "This is no coincidence, Amara. They're hitting you where it hurts." She nodded, though he couldn't see, her eyes scanning the terminal, half expecting Colin's smirk in the crowd. But it wasn't Colin who struck next. Her phone lit up with an email breach alert, her personal account hacked, private messages leaking online, cherry-picked to paint her as aggressive, unstable. One email, twisted out of context, showed her venting about a board member, now trending as CEO's meltdown. Her stock app flashed, down 10%, investors pulling back, her board's texts now a flood. Step back, Amara, we're exposed. She sank onto a bench, her carry-on at her feet, the terminal's hum fading to a dull roar. The leaks weren't random, they were surgical. Time to gut her just as Marcus's plan took shape. Her phone buzzed again. A news alert. Attorney, Marcus Daniels suspended amid Apex Air case. She opened it, her stomach twisting. Marcus's firm, pressured by Apex Air's legal team, had sidelined him, citing conflicts of interest. A photo showed him leaving his office, head down, briefcase clutched tight. Amara's hope cracked, not shattered, but bruised. Marcus was out, her apartment gone, her reputation bleeding, and Apex Air's shadow loomed larger than ever. Then, a final blow landed. Her social media app pinged, a post from Colin himself, his profile public, no shame. Should have stayed quiet, it read, tagged to her livestream, a taunt that racked up likes from bots and bigots alike. Amara's fingers hovered over her screen, rage flaring, but she didn't reply. She looked up, catching her reflection. In a terminal window, her blazer creased, her eyes tired but fierce. Elliot's machine had struck hard, trashing her home, hacking her life, sidelining her ally, all to protect Colin's bias, their empire. The note's words, "Back off," echoed, but backing off wasn't in her code. Amara stood, smoothing her blazer, her carry-on slung over her shoulder. Marcus was down, but Lila's manifest was still hers, buried in her email, a spark in the dark. Colin and Elliot thought they'd caged her, thought vandalism and leaks could silence her truth. They didn't know she'd hacked systems tougher than theirs, exposed lies deeper than their forged papers. Miami's night pulsed outside, and Amara's fight burned brighter, a fire no break-in could douse. She needed a new plan, one that hit harder, cut deeper, and she'd find it no matter the cost. Amara Wells stood in a Miami hotel lobby, her reflection sharp in the glass doors despite the creased blazer and faint coffee stains from a fight that wouldn't let her rest. Her phone, now at 8% battery, was a battlefield of notifications. Trolls and supporters clashing after Apex Air's doctored manifest branded her a liar. Her Chicago apartment lay in ruins, slurs scrawled on its walls, a note screaming, "Back off." Her emails, hacked and leaked, painted her as unhinged, costing her firm 10% in stocks. Marcus, her lawyer ally, was suspended. And Colin, Hargrove's taunt, should have stayed quiet, stung like salt in a wound. Yet Amara's eyes burned with defiance, her carry-on slung over her shoulder, the real manifest from Lila tucked in her email, a grenade she was ready to pull. Elliot Hargrove, Colin's VP cousin, thought he'd buried her, but Amara was done hiding. She was striking back, and Miami would feel the shockwaves. The lobby buzzed with early morning travelers, suitcases rattling, voices blending into a hum. Amara had checked into the hotel with her phone's digital ID, a workaround for her stolen wallet, but every transaction felt like a tightrope walk. She'd spent the night emailing contacts, rallying her firm's loyalists, and drafting a new plan. Marcus was out, but Lila's manifest was her ace, proof Apex Air had lied to crush her. She'd called a press conference, not at some fancy venue, but a community center downtown, raw and real, where her voice could cut through Elliot's polished spin. Her phone buzzed, a text from a tech friend. "Rented you a conference room, got cameras ready, go get 'em." Amara's lips twitched, not a smile, but close, her fight finding new legs. She took a cab to the center, Miami's sunrise painting the skyline gold, her resolve hardening with every mile. The room was small, folding chairs packed with reporters, bloggers, and locals, their phones and mics a forest of eyes. Amara stepped to the podium, her blazer smoothed, her hair pulled back, no notes, just truth. Lila's manifest glowed on, her phone mirrored on a projector behind her. Amara Wells, seat 3A, first class, undeniable. "I was removed from my seat for one reason," she said, her voice steady, slicing the room's hum. "Because Colin Hargrove decided I didn't belong, and Apex Air backed him up with a lie." She tapped her phone, the manifest zooming in, her name bold against Apex Air's logo. This is the truth they hid, forged a new manifest to silence me, trashed my home to scare me. The room erupted, cameras flashing, reporters scribbling, a blogger live streaming to thousands. Amara kept going, detailing Colin's coffee sabotage, the stolen wallet, the police search, Elliot's TV lie. They didn't just target me, she said, her eyes sweeping the crowd. They targeted anyone who dares to claim their place. The applause was thunder, phones buzzing as her words hit the web. Boss Amara fights trending in minutes. A reporter shouted, "What's next, Ms. Wells?" Amara paused, her gaze fierce. "I'm suing Apex Air, not for money, for change, so nobody sits in row 38 for the wrong reasons." The room roared, her truth a tidal wave crashing over Elliot's empire. By noon, the conference was everywhere. CNN, MSNBC, tech blogs, Apex Air's stock plummeting 10% in hours. Investors spooked by the manifest's proof. Amara's phone, now at 5%, lit up with support. "You're unstoppable," and took them down. Her firm's stock steadied, her board texting, "We're with you," their panic easing. She left the center, the crowd parting, locals nodding, one whispering, "You spoke for us all." Amara felt the ground shift. Her fight no longer hers alone, but a beacon, blazing bright. Ever felt a moment where one voice changed everything? Comment number 1 if Amara's courage hit you hard. Smash that like and subscribe to see this fight explode. She checked into a new hotel, a budget spot to dodge Apex Air's radar, her carry-on lighter without her wallet's weight. She was sipping water in her room, scrolling headlines. Amara Wells exposes Apex Air fraud, when her phone rang, her sister's name flashing. "Amara," Keisha's voice cracked. "You okay?" Amara frowned, sensing the edge. "I'm fine. Just shook them up, what's wrong?" Keisha's pause was too long, her breath shaky. "Your place in Chicago, it's worse than you think. Someone set it on fire last night, not just a break-in. It's gone." Amara's heart stopped, her hand gripping the phone, the room's walls closing in. "Fire?" she whispered, her voice raw. "Keisha, what else?" Keisha's voice broke. "Cops found another note in the ashes. Back off or worse. They're calling it arson, no leads, but Amara, this is personal." Amara's vision blurred, not tears, but rage. Her apartment, her sanctuary, reduced to cinders, a second strike to silence her. She forced her voice steady. "I'm okay, Keisha. Stay safe, I'll handle this." She hung up, her hands trembling, the headlines' glow fading against the news. Her conference had hit Apex Air hard, but they'd hit back harder, burning her past to ash, daring her to keep fighting. She stood, pacing the room, her heels muffled on the thin carpet. The fire wasn't random. It was Elliot. His reach deeper than she'd feared. His warning clear. Back off, or worse. She checked her phone, a news alert flashing. Elliot on TV again, his suit pristine, his voice calm. "Apex Air regrets. Any confusion?" he said, his eyes cold. "But we deny fabricating records. Ms. Wells's claims are under review and we trust the process." His lips didn't smirk, but they didn't need to. His denial was a taunt, a glove slapped across. Her face, the anchor cut in. Apex Air's stock down 12%. Analysts predict more losses. Amara's chest tightened, not with pride, but dread. Her victory hollowed by the ashes of her home. She sank onto the bed, her carry-on at her feet. The manifest still hers, but its power dimmed. The conference had rallied the world, but Elliot's fire had gutted her roots, left her unmoored. Her phone buzzed, a colleague's text. "Board's worried, stocks shaky, what's the plan?" She didn't reply, her mind replaying Keisha's words. Or worse. What did worse look like when your home was gone, your name half ruined? Comment number 1 if you'd keep fighting after losing everything, hit like, and subscribe to see Amara's next move. Amara's fingers curled into the bedspread, her nails biting fabric, but her eyes didn't waver. She'd exposed Apex Air's lie, forced their stock to bleed, but Elliot's arson was a new beast, personal, primal. She thought of Colin's taunt, Elliot's calm on TV, two Hargroves weaving a net she hadn't fully unraveled. Her firm teetered, Her allies dwindled, but she'd built from nothing before, coded empires from scraps. The fire hadn't burned. Her spirit, it had forged it, and Elliot's note was just fuel for a fight he'd regret starting. Miami's heat pressed against the window, and Amara stood, her blazer creased but her resolve iron, ready to hit back where it hurt most. But what was Elliot's next play, and how much deeper would this war cut? Amara Wells sat on the edge of a budget hotel bed in Miami, the room's thin walls humming with the city's pulse, her carry-on open beside her like a loyal soldier. Her phone, charging at last, glowed with headlines from her press conference. Amara Wells exposes Apex Air's lie. But the victory tasted like ash. Her Chicago apartment was gone, burned to cinders, a note in the rubble warning, "Back off, or worse." Elliot Hargrove's TV denial, his cold eyes masking a smirk, looped in her mind. Apex Air's VP and Colin's cousin orchestrating a war that had trashed her home, hacked her emails, and bled her firm's stock 12%. Lila's real manifest, proving her first-class seat was her only weapon. But it wasn't enough, not against a machine this vicious. Amara's hands were steady, her blazer creased, but her resolve iron, she wasn't retreating, she was reloading, and Elliot would feel the heat. The hotel's air conditioner rattled, barely cutting Miami's muggy night. Amara's firm teetered, her board texting ultimatums. Step back or we vote you out, their faith fraying with every stock dip. She'd rallied the world at the community center, forced Apex Air's stock to tank, but the fire had gutted her roots, left her exposed. Colin's taunt, should have stayed quiet, stung, but Elliot's note, or worse, was a promise she couldn't ignore. She needed dirt, something to hit Elliot where he lived, not just his wallet. Her phone buzzed, a reply from a contact in her tech network. Got a PI, discreet, good with corporate skeletons. Name's Vince Carter, meeting you tomorrow, 7 a.m. diner on 5th. Amara exhaled, a spark of hope flickering. She wasn't alone, not yet. She met Vince at dawn, a greasy spoon diner smelling of bacon and burnt coffee, its vinyl booths, cracked but private. Vince was wiry, late 50s, his denim jacket faded, his eyes sharp like he'd seen too much but forgotten nothing. Heard about your fight, he said, sliding into the booth, a manila folder in hand. Apex Air's playing dirty but Elliot Hargrove's dirtier. Been dodging complaints for years, racism, harassment, all buried. Amara leaned in, her coffee cooling untouched. I need proof, she said, her voice low, steady. Something to nail him, not just Apex Air, him. Vince nodded, flipping open the folder. Memos and emails. Whispers of bribes to silence past victims. A flight attendant fired for talking too much. A black pilot demoted for attitude. This is just the start, Vince said. But it's enough to rattle his cage. Amara's pulse quickened, the papers a map to Elliot's underbelly. His power built on silenced voices like hers. How deep does it go? She asked, her eyes locked on his. Vince's lips twitched, not a smile but close. Deep enough to sink him if we're smart. I'll dig more, but you leak this now, it'll burn. Amara took the folder, her fingers brushing the worn edges, her mind racing. This wasn't just a lawsuit, it was a guillotine, and she'd drop it herself. Get me everything, she said, her voice firm, and stay off their radar. Vince nodded, slipping out, his coffee untouched, a ghost ready to haunt Elliot's secrets. Back at the hotel, Amara didn't wait. She emailed a blogger she trusted, Quinn, a tech muckraker with 1 million followers and no love for corporate lies. Got something on Apex Air's VP, she wrote, attaching Vince's memos. Anonymizing her source. This is bigger than my story, it's their whole game. Quinn replied in minutes. Holy hell, Amara, this is dynamite. Going live tonight, you cool? Amara typed, do it, her heart pounding, the leak her boldest move yet. By evening, Quinn's post hit, Apex Air VP busted years of covered-up bias. The memos splashed across the web, naming Elliot as the puppet master of a racist machine. Social media erupted. Elliot exposed trending. Apex Air's stock dipping another 3%. Protests planned outside their Miami HQ. Amara watched from her room, the TV flashing Quinn's blog, pundits tearing into Apex Air's culture of silence. Her phone buzzed, a colleague texting, "Board's impressed, stocks holding, you're back in play." The community center crowd resurfaced online. Amara warned us, she was right. She allowed herself a breath, not victory, but progress. Elliot's armor cracking under her strike. Apex Air's board issued a statement. Internal probe launched, Mr. Hargrove on leave, and Colin, tied to his cousin's name, was sidelined from flights, his smirk nowhere in sight. Amara's fight felt alive again, her fire burning through. Their lies. The world finally seeing what she'd faced in row 38. But the world tilted, fast and brutal. Her phone rang at midnight, Vince's number, but his voice was gone, replaced by a cop's flat tone. "Ms. Wells, Vince Carter's missing. His office was gutted, files torched, no sign of him." Amara's heart sank, her breath catching, the room's walls shrinking. "Missing?" she whispered, her voice raw. The cop's pause was heavy. "We're looking, but it's bad. Anything you know could help." She hung up, her hands trembling, Vince's folder still open on her bed, its pages now a curse. He'd dug too deep, gotten too close, and Elliot had struck, not with words, but with erasure. She stepped outside, Miami's heat thick, her blazer clinging to her skin. A black SUV idled across the street, its tinted windows blank, but it peeled away as she turned, her pulse spiking. Back in her room, she locked the door, her phone buzzing with a new alert. Her car rental app flagged. Vehicle tampered, tires slashed, police notified. She checked her lot, her rental's rims bare, glass glittering on the pavement. No note, but the message clear. Elliot wasn't warning now. He was hunting. Her phone lit up again, a video spreading online. A deepfake of her bribing Vince, her voice warped. "Dig up what I need, money's no issue." It was seamless, chilling. Her allies texting, "Is this real?" Their trust crumbling, her stock sliding another point. Amara sank onto the bed, her carry-on untouched, the manifest's glow dimmed by fear. The leak had shaken Apex Air, forced their hand. But Elliot's counterstrike was a beast. Vince gone, her car wrecked, her face twisted into a lie. Her phone buzzed, Colin's profile active again, a post crowing, "Lies don't win." His words a knife, twisting deeper. She didn't reply, her eyes fixed on the window, Miami's skyline indifferent to her war. Her board's texts stopped, her colleagues silent. The blogger Quinn backtracking. "Need to verify sources, sorry." The deepfake spread. Amara's scam trending, her truth drowned in Elliot's digital flood. Her fingers curled into the bedspread, her nails biting fabric. But she didn't break. Vince's fate was a wound, the slashed tires a threat, the deepfake a betrayal, all tied to Elliot's power, his refusal to lose. She'd exposed his bribes, rattled his empire, but he'd burned her allies, her safety, her name. Lila's manifest was still hers, a flicker in the dark. But it wasn't enough. Not against this. Amara stood, her blazer heavy, her eyes fierce. She'd coded through crashes, built from zeros and ones, and Elliot's game was just another system to crack. Miami's night pressed close, but her fire burned, a spark no arson could kill, ready for a fight she'd win or die trying. Amara Wells crouched in a Miami safe house, a bare studio tucked above a laundromat, its walls thin, the air thick with detergent and despair. Her phone, plugged into a cracked outlet, glowed dimly, its screen a graveyard of notifications, trolls, feasting on a deepfake that showed her bribing a PI, her voice warped into a lie. Vince Carter, the investigator she'd hired to expose Elliot Hargrove, was gone, his office torched, no trace left. Her rental car's tires were slashed, her firm's stock down 15%, her board silent, her allies scattered. Marcus, her lawyer, had quit, spooked by Apex Air's legal muscle, and Colin's taunt, "Lies don't win," echoed from the web. A cruel jab from the attendant who'd started it all. Amara's blazer hung on a chair, coffee stains faded but stubborn, like the fight she refused to quit. Elliot, Apex Air's VP and Colin's cousin, thought he'd crushed her. But in this dim room, Amara was rebuilding, her fire smoldering, ready to blaze. The safe house was a favor from a tech friend, off-grid, no paper trail, a shield against Elliot's reach. Amara sat on a cot, her carry-on open, Lila's real manifest, proof of her first-class seat, still safe in her email, but useless against the deepfake's venom. Her apartment's ashes, the back-off or worse note, Vince's erasure, all screamed Elliot's power, a system that didn't just bend against her, but broke her world to keep her down. Her phone buzzed, a colleague's text. Board's voting tomorrow. Step down, or we're done. Her firm, her empire teetered, built on code and grit, now crumbling under lies she hadn't told. She didn't reply, her eyes fixed on the window, Miami's neon flicker cold, indifferent. She stood, pacing the creaky floor, her heels swapped. For sneakers, her mind a storm of what-ifs. The press conference had shaken Apex Air. Vince's leak had cracked Elliot's armor, but each strike brought a harder blow. Her home, her name, her allies, all burned or buried. She stopped, her breath shallow, the weight of it all pressing her ribs. For a moment she wondered if Elliot had won, if back off was the only path left. Her reflection in a chipped mirror showed tired eyes, but they didn't waver. They burned, a spark that hadn't died. Not in row 38, not now. She wasn't done. She just needed a way in, a crack to pry open. A soft knock jolted her, her pulse spiking. Nobody knew this place, not Keisha, not her board, nobody. She crept to the door, her hand on her phone, ready to dial. "Who's there?" she whispered, her voice low, steady, despite the fear curling in her gut. A pause, then a familiar voice, hushed. "It's Lila, from the flight. I've got something for you, please. Open quick." Amara's heart leaped. Lila, the attendant who'd slipped her water, who'd risked showing Marcus the manifest. She unbolted the door, cracking it just enough to see Lila's ponytail, her eyes wide, a backpack slung over her shoulder. "I'm alone," Lila said, glancing down the hall. "But we don't have long." Amara let her in, locking the door fast, the laundromat's hum masking their steps. Lila dropped her backpack, pulling out a USB drive, its black casing scuffed but intact. "I couldn't stay quiet," Lila said, her voice trembling but firm. "After Vince, after your apartment, I dug into Apex Air's servers, stuff I'm not supposed to touch. This has memos, emails, proof Elliot and his team doctored your manifest. Not just yours, others too. Years of covering up bias to protect their culture." Amara took the drive, her fingers closing around it like a lifeline, her mind racing. "How'd you get this?" she asked, her eyes searching Lila's face, wary of traps. Lila's lips twitched, a ghost of a smile. "I'm low on the totem pole, nobody watches me, but I know their systems, trained on them last year. I copied what I could before they locked me out. Elliot's name's all over it, him and Colin, they've been at this forever." Amara plugged the drive into her phone, a PDF loading, emails from Elliot to execs. Handle complaints quietly, no paper trail, and a directive to reassign problem passengers. You know the type. Her seat 3A was there, scratched. Out 38C penciled in, a digital crime scene. Amara's chest tightened, not with fear, but with clarity. This was dynamite, enough to bury Elliot, maybe Apex Air itself. "Lila, you're risking everything," Amara said, her voice soft, grateful but heavy. Lila nodded, her hands twisting together. "I saw what they did to you, what they've always done. I'm done looking away. Just, please, don't let them." "No, it's me." Amara gripped her shoulder, a brief anchor. "You're safe with me," she said, meaning it, her fight now theirs. Lila left, slipping into the night, her backpack lighter, her courage heavier than Amara could measure. Alone again, Amara scrolled the files, her mind mapping a new exposé, bigger than the press conference, a live-streamed bomb to blast Apex Air's lies wide open. She'd go live tomorrow, from a public spot, no hiding, no backing off. Elliot's memos her sword, the world her shield. But the world struck first, cold and sharp. Her phone buzzed at 3 a.m., a security alert from the safe house's cheap system. Motion detected. Front door. Her heart stopped, her eyes darting to the bolt, still locked, but a red light blinked on the camera feed. Offline. Hacked. Footsteps thudded below, heavy, deliberate. Then a siren wailed, tires screeching outside. She grabbed her phone, the USB drive, stuffing them into her carry-on as red and blue lights flashed through. The window. A megaphone blared. "Amara Wells, come out, this is the police." Her stomach twisted, her mind scrambling. She hadn't done anything, but Elliot had, and this was his move. She opened the door, hands raised, her blazer swapped for a hoodie, her voice calm despite the guns aimed her way. "I'm Amara Wells," she said, stepping into the hall, cops swarming, their faces hard. "You're under investigation for squatting," one barked, cuffs glinting, but they didn't snap them on, not yet. "This isn't my place, but I'm allowed here," she said, her phone recording, her eyes locking on theirs. They searched. The studio, finding nothing but her carry-on, Lila's drive safe in her pocket, but the damage was done, neighbors peering from doors, filming. "Trouble again," one muttered, her name already trending. Amara's hideout raided. The lead cop, a burly man with a gray mustache, handed her a slip. "Vacate by dawn, owners pressing charges." Amara's jaw tightened. The owner a ghost, likely Elliot's puppet, another lie to flush her out. She nodded, her voice steady. "I'll go, but check your tip, it's not what you think." The cops left, their sirens fading, but a note waited on her cot. Slipped under the door. "You're done." No signature, just venom. Amara's hands shook, not fear, but rage. Elliot's reach hacking her safe house, turning cops into pawns, her sanctuary a stage for his game. She packed her carry-on, the USB drive heavy in her pocket, Lila's gift a spark in the dark. Her firm hung by a thread, her name trashed, her allies gone. But she'd coded through crashes, built from nothing, and Elliot's raid was just another bug to squash. Miami's dawn loomed, gray and heavy, but Amara's fire burned. Lila's, drive her new code, ready to rewrite this war. She stepped into the street, her sneakers soft on pavement, her eyes fierce, no safe house left. But a fight that wouldn't die. Not now. Not ever. Amara Wells stood in a Miami public park, the midday sun blazing, her sneakers planted firm on cracked pavement, her carry-on slung over her shoulder like armor. Her phone, at 10% battery, clutched Lila's USB drive, a digital bomb packed, with Apex Air memos proving Elliot Hargrove's years of buried bias, her name scratched from seat 3A to protect his racist empire. The safe house raid, cops swarming her at dawn, a note snarling, "You're done," still burned in her. Mind Elliot's latest jab to crush her fight. Her firm teetered, stocks down 15%. Her board poised to oust her. Vince gone, Marcus sidelined, her apartment ashes. Yet Amara's eyes were fire, her hoodie swapped for a fresh blazer, her voice ready to roar. Elliot and Colin thought they'd silenced her, but today in this park she'd go all in, live streaming truth to millions, and Apex Air would bleed. The park buzzed with joggers, kids on swings, a street vendor grilling hot dogs, their sizzle mixing with Miami's humid pulse. Amara had chosen this spot for its openness, no walls to cage her, no shadows for Elliot's goons to hide. Her tech friend had lent a tripod, a backup battery, her phone now a weapon, not a wound. She'd spent the morning prepping, copying Lila's files to a cloud server, emailing trusted contacts. "If I go dark, release this." The memos were brutal. Elliot's emails ordering problem passengers reassigned, black pilots demoted, complaints buried, all to shield Apex Air's culture. Colin's bias just one cog in his machine. Amara wasn't just fighting. For her seat, she was fighting for every name erased, every voice drowned, and the world would hear it. She set up near a fountain, its spray cooling her skin, her phone angled to catch her face, and the park's life behind her. She hit live stream, her follower count spiking, 10,000 viewers in seconds, then 20,000, drawn by her press conference's echo, and Master Amara fights trending. I'm Amara Wells, she said, her voice clear, cutting through the fountain's hum. And Apex Air tried to bury me. They took my seat, my wallet, my home, my name, but they can't take my truth. She held up her phone, the memos scrolling, Elliot's orders stark. Handle complaints quietly. No paper trail. The chat exploded. This is insane! And Elliot's done. Her viewers hitting 50,000, then 100,000, a global roar. Amara kept going, her blazer sharp despite sleepless nights, her eyes locked on the lens. They burned my apartment, framed me with lies, erased my PI, all to protect a system that judges us before we board. She named Colin, his muttered slur. People like her don't belong. And Elliot, his memos a blueprint for bias. Her voice rising, not anger but power. This isn't just my fight, it's yours. Anyone told you don't belong, you don't count. Apex Air's stock is down. Their lies are out and we're not stopping. The crowd grew, parkgoers pausing, phones up, a local news van pulling in. Her words a magnet, pulling truth from shadows. Her viewer count hit 1 million, trending globally. Elliot exposed spiking, Apex Air's stock plummeting 15%. In an hour, investors fleeing, headlines flashing. Amara Wells drops bombshell on Apex Air. Protests erupted outside their Miami HQ, signs reading, "No more lies." Amara's chest swelled, not pride, but purpose. Her fight a wildfire, burning Elliot's empire to the ground. She thought of Lila, risking her job, Vince, lost to his dig, her sister Keisha, voice cracked with fear, all fueling her now. "We're tearing this down," she said, her voice a blade. "Not for revenge, but for change, so nobody sits in row 38 for the wrong skin." She was mid-sentence. Elliot can't hide. When a red dot flickered on her chest, a laser's pinprick, gone, then back, steady now. Her breath caught, her eyes darting, the crowd oblivious, kids still laughing, the vendor flipping dogs. She froze, instincts screaming, her mind flashing to Vince or worse. The dot held, a sniper's mark, and she dove behind a concrete bench, her phone clattering, the tripod tipping, her livestream catching dirt and sky. A crack split, the air then another, screams erupting, the crowd scattering, parents grabbing kids, the vendor ducking behind his cart. No one was hit. The shots high, meant to terrify, not kill, but chaos reigned. Amara's heart pounding, her hands gripping the bench, her blazer snagged on stone. She peeked out, the dot gone. The park a blur of panic, cops' sirens wailing in. The distance, her phone still streaming. 2 million viewers now, chat screaming, "Is she okay?" And, "Someone's shooting." Amara crawled to her phone, her hand steady despite the tremor, her voice hoarse but firm. "I'm here," she said, propping it up, her face pale but fierce. "They're trying to stop me, but I'm not stopping." The news van's crew ran toward her, mics out, but she waved them off, her eyes scanning trees, rooftops, no sniper, no dot, just fear's heavy shadow. Police swarmed, cordoning the park, their radios crackling. Shots fired, no casualties. Amara stood, her blazer torn, her carry-on safe, Lila's drive still in her pocket, her live stream spiking to 3 million. The world watching her defiance. A detective, gray-haired, approached, his notepad open. "Ms. Wells, you okay? Any idea who'd do this?" Amara's jaw tightened, her voice low. "Elliot Hargrove, Apex Air VP. Check his burner phones. He's not clean." The detective nodded, scribbling, but his eyes held doubt, the system's weight already tilting against her. Her phone buzzed, a news alert. Apex Air spins shooting. Wells' speech incited violence. Amara's stomach twisted, Elliot's hand clear, his team twisting her truth, painting her as a danger, not a target. Social media split. Some cheering, "She's a hero." Others sneering, "She caused this chaos." Her firm's stock dipped again, her board texting, "This is too much, Amara." The detective stepped back, his radio crackling. "HQ says tread light, she's controversial." Amara's eyes burned, not tears, but rage. Elliot's sniper a ghost, his spin a blade, cutting her victory to ribbons. She grabbed her carry-on. The park now a crime scene, cops questioning stragglers, The fountain silent, its spray shut off. Her livestream ended, but clips spread. Amara dodges bullets. Trending with Amara fights. Apex Air's stock down 18%. Protests. Swelling. She'd struck their core, exposed their rot, but the red dot lingered in her mind, a warning she couldn't shake. Elliot wasn't just fighting, he was hunting, and his burner phones, his shadows, were steps ahead. Her blazer hung heavy, her sneakers scuffed, but her fire didn't flicker. Lila's drive a spark, her fight a storm. Amara slipped into a cab, her phone at 5%, the driver glancing at her. "You that lady from the news?" She nodded, her voice soft. "Just get me downtown." Miami streets blurred past. Protests outside Apex Air's glass tower, signs waving, her name a chant. She'd broken their lie, forced their world to see, but the sniper's aim was Elliot's vow, a promise of worse if she pushed further. Her firm hung by a thread, her allies dust, but she'd coded through crashes, built from scraps, and Elliot's chaos was just another bug to squash. She clutched Lila's drive, her eyes fierce, ready to burn his empire to ash no matter the cost. Amara Wells sat in a Miami diner, its neon sign buzzing outside, her coffee cooling untouched on a chipped table. Her phone, down to 4% battery, was silent now. The storm of her park livestream, 3 million viewers strong, still echoing across the web. Lila's USB drive, packed with Elliot Hargrove's memos, had blown Apex Air's lies wide open, exposing years of buried bias. Her seat 3A just one casualty in their racist machine. The sniper's red dot, the shots that missed but shook, her lingered like a bruise, Elliot's vow of worse made real. Her firm's stock teetered at 20% down, her board on the verge of ousting her, her apartment ashes, Vince gone, Marcus out. Yet Amara's blazer, though torn from diving behind that park bench, hung sharp, her eyes blazing, her fight unbroken. Elliot and Colin thought they'd scared her off, but she was a spark in their powder keg, and Apex Air was burning. The diner's jukebox played a faded soul track, its hum blending with late-night chatter, truckers and cabbies hunched over greasy plates. Amara had slipped here after the park chaos, dodging news vans and cops, her carry-on tucked under the table, Lila's drive safe in her pocket. Her livestream had done damage, Apex Air's stock crashing 25% in a day, board members resigning in droves, their Miami HQ swarmed by protesters chanting her name. Social media crowned her a hero. Samara fights trending globally, clips of her dodging bullets viral. She's unstoppable, trending beside Apex Air's done. The sniper scandal had gutted their brand, headlines screaming, Apex Air, linked to shooting scare, and regulators circling, demanding answers Elliot couldn't spin. Amara sipped her coffee, bitter but grounding, her mind replaying the detective's doubt. "Check his burner phones," she'd said. But the system leaned toward Apex Air, not her. Her phone buzzed, a rare lifeline, an email from a Senate aide. "Ms. Wells, your actions have sparked national concern. You're invited to testify at a hearing on airline discrimination, Washington, 3 days. We need your voice." Her heart leaped, not joy but purpose. The Senate a stage bigger than any park, her truth poised to rewrite laws, not just headlines. She typed back, "I'll be there." Her fingers steady, her fight finding new teeth, Elliot's empire cracking under her weight. She leaned back, the diner's vinyl booth creaking, her eyes scanning the room, wary of shadows after the snipers. The invitation felt like a crown, her live stream's fire carrying her from row 38 to Capitol Hill. Apex Air's lies no match for her proof. News alerts pinged. Apex Air clears wells of violence claims. The park shooting pinned on unknown actors, her name untarnished, at least for now. Her firm's stock ticked up a point, her board pausing their vote, texts softening. "Testify strong, we're watching." Amara allowed herself a breath, not victory but progress, the ground steadying, her fight unstoppable. Elliot's sniper a misfire that cost him more than her. But the ground shook, cold and sudden. Her phone buzzed, a post from Colin, not sidelined anymore. His profile active, no shame. "Private texts don't lie," he wrote, linking a thread of Amara's messages, twisted, edited, painting her as a corporate spy, plotting to sink Apex Air for profit. One read, another, "I'll burn their stock to nothing." Her stomach twisted, the texts fake, pulled from her hacked email, but seamless, chilling, spreading like poison. Comments flooded. "She's a fraud, and all for clout." Her hero glow dimming. Amara lies trending beside her fight. Her stock app flashed, down 5 points in minutes. Investors bolting, her board texting, "This ends now, resign." Amara's hands trembled, just for a second, before she locked them around her coffee mug, her nails biting ceramic. Colin's leak was Elliot's blade, surgical, timed to gut her before the Senate could hear her. She checked her bag, rifling, threw for anything untouched and froze, her fingers brushing a cold metal disc, a tracker sewn into her carry-on's lining, blinking faintly, her breath caught, her mind racing. Someone Elliot had been tailing her, every move since the plane, the park, the safe house, watched, mapped, planned. She yanked it out, crushing it under her heel, the diner's hum fading to a roar in her ears, her sanctuary never safe, her fight a hunted thing. She stood, her blazer heavy, her sneakers scuffing the floor, the tracker's pieces glinting like a warning. Her phone buzzed, a news alert. Elliot back on TV. Not in Miami, but New York. His suit crisp, his voice smooth. "Apex Air condemns misinformation," he said, his eyes cold. "Ms. Wells's actions threaten an industry, not just a company. We're cooperating fully with authorities." The anchor cut in. "Hargrove leads a coalition to restore trust, vowing to fight false claims." Amara's jaw tightened. Elliot wasn't retreating. He was reloading. His coalition a smear campaign. His promise to bury her now public, dressed in corporate shine. The diner's clock ticked past midnight, its neon flickering, the few patrons oblivious to her war. Her Senate invite was gold, a chance to end Elliot's game. But the tracker, the texts, were chains, pulling her back, her firm collapsing, her allies silent. She thought of Lila, slipping her the drive, Vince, lost to his dig, Keisha, voice cracked with fear, all casualties of Elliot's machine, her fight their echo. Her phone dipped to 3%, its glow weak, but Lila's memos were safe, her cloud server untouched, a spark she'd fan into flame. The texts spread. Amara's spy plot trending, her board's vote looming, but she'd coded through crashes, built from zeros, and Elliot's trap was just another bug to squash. She paid her tab, a crumpled bill from her pocket, her wallet's absence a sting Colin had carved. The diner's door swung shut behind her, Miami's heat thick, her carry-on lighter without the tracker's weight. Elliot's coalition was a shadow, his texts a lie, but the Senate was her stage. 3 days to strike, her truth sharper than his spin. She walked toward a new hotel, her sneakers soft on pavement, her eyes scanning for SUVs, for dots, her fire burning despite the noose. Colin's leak, Elliot's tale, thought they'd caged her, but she'd hacked deeper systems, exposed darker lies, and Washington would feel her heat, no matter what they threw next. Amara slipped into an alley, her blazer blending with the dark, her phone's battery blinking red, but her resolve was steel. Lila's drive her sword, the Senate her battlefield. She wasn't just fighting for 3A, she was fighting for every erased name, every silenced voice, and Elliot's empire would crumble, or she'd die trying. Miami's night closed around her, but her spark flared, ready to ignite a war he couldn't outrun, her truth a flame no tracker could snuff. Amara Wells stood in a Washington, D.C. hotel room, the Capitol's dome visible through a rain-streaked window, her reflection sharp despite a blazer worn thin by Miami's wars. Her phone, fully charged at last, held Lila's USB drive. A vault of Apex Air's sins, Elliot Hargrove's memos exposing a decade of buried bias, her seat 3A just one scar among many. 3 days ago, a sniper's dot had chased her from a park. 2 days ago, Colin's fake texts branded her a spy, a tracker in her bag proving Elliot's eyes never left her. Her firm's stock was down 25%, her board poised. To vote her out, her apartment ashes, Vince gone, Marcus silent. Yet Amara's hands were steady. her sneakers swapped for heels, her eyes blazing with a fire that had burned since row 38. The Senate hearing loomed, her chance to end Elliot's empire, but she wasn't just testifying, she was rewriting the game, and Apex Air would never see it coming. The hotel's hum was soft, a far cry from Miami's chaos, but Amara's mind roared, mapping her final play. The Senate invite had pulled her from a diner's shadows, Colin's leaked texts and Elliot's coalition vowing to bury her, a desperate bid to crush her truth. Lila's drive was her sword, but it wasn't enough to speak. She had to strike deep and permanent. Her cybersecurity roots, coding firewalls that guarded empires, whispered a bolder move: hack Apex Air's servers, unearth every hidden lie, and turn their own system against them. She'd spent nights in DC prepping, her laptop new, her cloud server loaded with Lila's files, her tech contacts slipping her backdoors to Apex Air's network, a skeleton key to their rot. She sat at a desk, the room's lamp casting her shadow long, her fingers flying over keys, lines of code, a language she spoke better than fear. Apex Air's servers were a fortress, but Amara was a ghost, slipping past their walls. Her skills, honed in boardrooms and basements alike. She found folders marked sensitive, emails Elliot thought deleted, directives to erase complaints, reassign troublemakers, black passengers, Latino crew, all flagged, all silenced. One file chilled her, a 2015 incident, a black woman removed from first class, hospitalized after resisting, no record public, Elliot's sign-off clear, handle quietly. Amara's jaw tightened, her fight not just hers, but theirs, every name buried to shield Apex Air's shine. The hearing was hours away, a marble chamber where senators would grill her, live-streamed to billions, her truth a beacon or a bomb. She copied the files, her cloud server humming, her phone synced, to broadcast a plan no sniper could stop. She dressed, a slate gray suit, no coffee stains, her heels clicking with purpose, her carry-on light, Lila's drive safe, her laptop, her arsenal. The cab to the Capitol was quiet, DC's rain a soft drum, her mind replaying Elliot's smirk, Colin's taunt, lies don't win, but lies were their game and she'd play it better. The hearing room buzzed, senators in suits, aides whispering, cameras rolling, the live stream spiking to 10 million viewers in minutes. Amara sat at a long table, her laptop open, her face calm but fierce, Lila's memos projected behind her, Elliot's words stark. No paper trail. The chair, a gray-haired senator with a southern drawl, leaned forward. Ms. Wells, you've made serious claims against Apex Air. Present your evidence. Amara nodded, her voice clear, cutting through the room's hum. I'm not here to claim. I'm here to prove. She tapped her laptop, the memos scrolling, but she didn't stop there. She hit play, her hack live, Apex Air's servers spilling secrets to the world. Screens flared, emails, videos, audio clips, a decade of Apex Air's bias laid bare, 2015's hospitalized woman, a 2018 pilot fired for attitude, a 2020 crew silenced for protesting slurs, all tied to Elliot, his name a thread in every crime. The room gasped, senators shifting, aides typing furiously, the live stream soaring to 50 million. Apex Air exposed, trending globally. Amara's voice rose, not loud, but iron. This isn't one flight, one seat. It's a system, built to erase us, and Elliot Hargrove ran it, with his cousin Colin as his pawn. She played a clip, Elliot's voice. Reassign her, you know why. Timestamp to her flight, her name clear, 3A to 38C, a digital confession. The chamber erupted, senators shouting questions. How did you access this? And is this verified? Amara stayed calm, her eyes sweeping the room. I'm a cybersecurity expert. I find what's hidden, and this is real. Check their servers. It's all there. Her phone buzzed, news alerts flashing. Apex Air stock crashes 50%. $550 million gone overnight. Investors fleeing. The live stream hitting 1 billion views. Protests swelling outside Apex Air's offices, from Miami to New York. FBI agents entered the room, their suits crisp, heading for a side door. But Amara wasn't done. She had one more card, her ace, and she'd play it now. She stood, her heels firm, her voice a blade. Elliot Hargrove. Didn't just lie, he hunted me, my home, my allies, my life. She tapped her laptop. A new file loading, financial records, Apex Air's debt, billions deep, quietly bought by a shell company she'd built in secret, her cybersecurity empire's last play. I own their debt, she said. The room silent, cameras frozen. 60% of Apex Air's bonds effective today, I control their future. Gasps echoed, senators stunned, the live stream spiking. Yet Amara owns Apex trending, her face a global icon, not victim, but victor. The FBI moved, not toward her, but Elliot, seated in the gallery, his suit rumpled, his face pale as agents cuffed him mid-broadcast. Elliot Hargrove, you're under arrest for obstruction, fraud, and conspiracy. His eyes met Amara's, not smug now, but hollow. A king dethroned, his empire ash. Colin's name surfaced, a pawn exposed in the memos, fired, broke, his taunts silenced, his badge worthless. Amara sat, her laptop closed, her blazer smooth, the room's hum a distant echo. Her fight won, not with screams but silence. The same silence that had judged her in first class. Now awe, not shame. Senators scrambled, questions flying. Ms. Wells, what's your plan? She leaned forward, her voice soft, seismic. I'm rebuilding Apex Air, equal open. No row 38s for the wrong reasons. This isn't about me, it's about them. Every passenger told they don't belong. The livestream roared, billions watching, her firm's stock surging, her board texting apologies. We were wrong, lead on. Protests turned to rallies. Amara's air trending, her name a chant, not a slur. She thought of Lila, risking all, Vince, lost to truth. Keisha, voice steady now, all carried in her win, their scars her strength. Outside, DC's rain slowed, the Capitol's dome gleaming, Amara's heels clicking as she left, her carry-on light, her phone off, no buzz needed. The world had heard. News vans swarmed, but she slipped past, a cab waiting, her eyes on the city, not back. Apex Air's towers would stand, but hers, built from code, grit, and silence, would rise higher. No tracker, no sniper, no lie could touch. Elliot's cuffs clinked in her mind. Colin's fall a footnote. Her seat 3A a spark that burned an empire to remake it. Equal, hers, theirs. Amara leaned back in the cab, her blazer creased but proud. Her fight not over but won. A new code to write, a new sky to claim. Miami's chaos, Chicago's ashes faded. DC's marble her stage, her truth a law no one could erase. She'd hacked their system, owned their debt, turned their silence to her roar. And the world, once complicit, now cheered. Every passenger, every row, free to belong. Her fire a beacon no one could dim. Amara Wells's journey in this story is a raw testament to resilience against systemic racism, teaching us that silence in the face of injustice fuels its power. From her wrongful ejection from first class to the arson of her home, Amara faced escalating attacks, each designed to erase her truth. Yet she didn't break. Her fight shows that standing firm, even when alone, can spark change. Her story reveals how bias isn't just personal slurs, it's woven into systems, policies, and silence, from Colin's prejudice to Elliot's corporate cover-ups. Amara's hack, exposing a decade of Apex Air's lies, proves knowledge is a weapon, turning victims into victors when wielded with courage. Her final act, seizing Apex Air's debt, flips the script, showing that power reclaimed can rebuild what was broken, not just for one, but for all. The lesson here is clear. Injustice thrives when unchallenged, but one voice armed with truth can topple empires. Amara's fire reminds us to question who's deemed out of place and why, to speak when others won't, and to fight smarter, not louder. Her win isn't just hers, it's a blueprint for anyone told they don't belong, a call to code our own paths through rigged systems. What moment in Amara's fight hit you hardest, and how would you stand against bias? Drop a comment with number 1, Hit like, subscribe, and share to amplify stories that demand justice. Thank you for joining this journey. May you carry Amara's spark to light your own battles for truth and equality.